Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I'm the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today we have Derek Johnson in the house, everyone, for some real raw talk. And we know how kind of it goes with Derek. Hopefully we'll get into some Q&A. I've got about 90 minutes for his show tonight. So we're going to sit back. We're going to talk a little bit about the big, beautiful bill and how a lot of these naysayers out there are trying to flip it into something very negative. So, and of course, Derek, I'm sure will give us some more information on what he knows is going on and, what he sees happening here in the coming days and weeks. Also, to everybody, know that myself or any of us podcasters that I have as guests, Derek Johnson, Captain Kyle, SG Anon, Alpha Warrior, etc., will not randomly reach out to you, ask you if you're ready for the scare event, ask you about your finances, crypto. If you get something like that, they're pretending to be us, please block, report, make sure, and let us know so we can make sure, let me know so I can make sure that they're not here in the channel. And then also too, I can let them know if you guys see it from imposters faking to be those individuals as well. Also too, if you come into the podcast late, everybody, please follow the podcast host or the social medias because I do upload all the shows on all the social medias and podcast hosts, which are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, PocketCast, Podbean, Riverside. We are being listened to in over 100 countries, everybody, so we are making some very positive noise. So hang in there, everybody. Stick and stay with those 3 to 5 people that have not led you wrong through the course of your journey here, because more than likely they're going to get you over to the hump. I do know we are starting to see some people fall to the wayside that we maybe thought were giving us. They may have been giving us good information, but there may be some nefarious ties tied to them in the background. So please, everybody, we're going to see more and more in that as the days continue. It is getting wild out there. So please be careful who you listen to, who you follow, and what you're putting into your mind. I can't tell you that enough because your mind is a powerful tool. And if you are not strong in the mind, you are not going to be able to handle some of these chats, lives that are going on. You will not be able to handle it because it's wicked. That's what they want. They want the division. They want the hate. They want us at each other's throat. And we are seeing that, everybody. The only way that we can stop that is to not be a part of that and stop it ourselves, right? So please be careful, everybody. Also, too, if you have a story or a journey to tell, you'd like to get your podcast, your voice and your story on the show, please reach out to me. Send your submissions to TROA submissions at yahoo.com. TROA stands for the Revival of America. I have created that email specifically for the submissions. So please, everybody, send just submissions to that email of a story or a journey that you would like to share on the show. We do vet these. We do read, give me a little synopsis of your story. We read it, we reach out to you, and then we make sure you're a real person telling a real story because unfortunately there are those imposters, fakesters out there that want to give some kind of BS story just to get on the show. If you do have a question or a concern that you want to reach out to me on my personal email, that is at therevivalofamerica@yahoo.com. Again, therevivalofamerica@yahoo.com. You can send me your emails there. And for those that are wanting to get in touch with John Baxter and his staff, email me there as well. Again, therevivalofamerica@yahoo.com. Also, too, check out the website, everybody. We are now, I think, going to be the website has been in a little bit of a standstill except for the newsletters, right? So sign up for the newsletter. It is free. You're going to get the weekly updates on the shows, the times, the guests, and then also the updates on the podcast. I do up them on the website as well. But now we're going to have the merch store is going to be updated, and we've got some other things we're going to be adding to with the children, John Baxter, just so much we're going to be adding to it. So that is now a little bit moving. It's not so much in the standstill part of it, but yes, pay attention to that because we will be having some good stuff over there. And I think that was it. Pretty long PSAs, everybody. But Derek is in the house, everybody. And I just want to make sure all of you guys stay out of the noise. There's a lot of minutia bullshit going on out there, a lot of noise. Hang on to the positives, everybody. We have a president that has a great sense of humor. And if you're not following anybody at all, or if you want to know somebody to follow, please at least follow him. If you're not following anybody at all, follow him for sure. He's telling us more now and not so cryptid and coded ways, but he's still a little bit coded, but he's telling us, everybody, he's got a sense of humor to it, and he certainly does not act like a person that is concerned like fearful, like all the fear mongering shit that we're hearing going on right now. So pay attention to him, everybody, and stick to your favorite podcasters, researchers, whatever it is, because like I said, it's wild out there. It's going to get more wild as the days come. And Derek will attest to that as well, because he talks about it also too. So please, everybody, stick and stay, everybody. It's time to pick a side. There's no more teetering or tottering on this fence. Time to pick a side. So with that, everybody, I'd like to welcome Derek. Again, we've got 90 minutes, and we're going to talk, about, some of these naysayers and stuff like that. So how are you, Derek? What's going on with you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm just, as always, I'm traveling somewhere. So I'm on the road and I'm pulled over right now. It's about to come a storm through here, but I think I'm all right. So we'll be good.
Oh, well, where are you at? I was just going to ask you, where are you at? Where are you traveling at?
I'm in Tuscaloosa, Alabama at the moment, and I'm headed up to North Alabama. So
Nice. Well, safe
yeah.
travels, my friend, and we'll keep it to the 90 minutes if you have to go because the storm is coming in. I absolutely understand and respect that. Your safety is priority. So, Derek, I did talk to the audience a little bit about, we do have a lot of these naysayers out there, and we've talked about it before, and we're not necessarily going to, name point people out, everybody. We're just going to talk about situations. And I talked to Derek earlier. I think one of the biggest things right now is the talk about the big beautiful bill, which is a big beautiful bill. If you look beyond there some things that some people may not like, right? But look at the bigger, broader picture of what this big beautiful bill is going to bring and how it's going to be good for our country. So Derek, do you want to maybe add to a little bit of that and what you're seeing out there? Because we do see a lot of individuals trying to turn this big beautiful bill into a not so beautiful bill.
Well, the first thing you always go to is that, um, you know, one, I tell people all the time, some of these people don't matter. Now, their walk and their talk with God or spirituality, whatever they believe in, that's on them. God gave us free will. So, but some of these people just don't matter. And you know, personally, I mean, I want everybody to be a good, decent, moral human being, but I can't make everybody. So some of these people just don't matter. In the Bible, I'm not here to preach, but at the same time, I mean, a lot of people that uh, are following me, but also in this quote unquote movement. It's not a movement, it's an operation, but it's still a movement with people in another kind of manner. A lot of people are Christian based, faith based, Bible based somehow, some way. And I'm like, most of them don't even read the word that they have. I mean, I used to argue or debate, whatever you want to call it, with people who, uh, would say, well, what if we don't have all the books of the Bible? I'm like, you don't even read the ones you have. So, I mean, so, you work with what you got. Um, so, when you look at the Bible tells you in the 23rd Psalm, one of the most popular chapters of the whole book. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thine art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Well, it also tells you in that same passage that I will prepare a table in the presence of your enemies. So if you believe the Bible's 2,000, 2,500 years old, whatever, if you believe it's that old, which from all accounts, we know it is, well, that's a pretty good, I mean, the mind can't even comprehend 400 years ago. People can't even comprehend 245 years ago with our foundation, which is older than that per se, but you just pick a number right around 245 when they started fighting, etc. So 2,000 years old, God's telling you that, hey, you're going to have enemies. So it's going to depend on what kind of person you are. Are you a warrior, or are you going to lay down in a corner and cry about it? There's a lot of people laying down and crying about it versus going, okay, I may not know everything, I may not comprehend everything, but try to. The initiative. A lot of people still don't have that initiative. I think that's what's most frustrating for certain people who, like me, like God put me in a position to get to serve beyond my service. I got an opportunity to do what I'm doing with what I'm doing with all my credentials, all that. It's in my little lane, and everybody has a lane, and everybody that's been chosen for a lane But it's a military operation straight out the gate. Just like yesterday, President Trump shared General Flynn's book. And I've tried to tell people General Flynn is playing a role. He had to. There's 4,600 plus retired generals. He's not the only general. He's playing a role. He couldn't come out and acknowledge me whatsoever. He had to separate himself from me. I can say what a general can't say. Generals are a whole other level for a reason. So many people get hung up on the hiccup. They think there's a destination. This is a journey. And they get hung up on little things. And President Trump, yeah, like I said, my podcast last night, I addressed all the different kinds of people out there. I put everybody in their place and go, okay, this certain person saying this. Well, you need to do this. And this certain person. But you definitely don't want to replicate a liberal. Liberals, President Trump's playing all them for fools. He'll throw something out there and they all go run to it like piranha, or like whenever you've seen, if anybody grew up around a catfish pond like I did, or something of that nature, but especially catfish pond, my grandpa used to not feed them for a couple of days because they already have natural mosquitoes and things like that lay on top of the water and they'll eat them. But, man-made catfish food, he wouldn't feed them for a few days. The next day you go out there, boy, you can catch them left and right, or feed them and they'll be hitting that water just bam, 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 just like that. That's what President Trump does to these stupid liberals. They don't even have a foundation. So he'll throw something over here and they'll run to it and they'll eat it up. And they go, oh, look at there, that so-and-so did this to President Trump. And then, nope, it's all strategically planned. All this, Canada, Iran, Israel, it's all strategically planned, every bit of it, because we have laws that show we went in the continuity government. We're still in a partial continuity government by law. For people that say I keep dragging this out, I'm like, the law shows we're in a continuity government. And they showed that, quote unquote, Joe partially revoked the continuity government. So it was invoked by President Trump, and they showed the quote unquote puppet government partially revoke it. So it's still relevant and it's still on the front. It means that it is still active, but also still on the front. It's of relevance. So, the military occupation, military operation, then you got to go study what you know of those. Then you got to know what that means, what that entails, and what the definitions are, what's that look like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of these people don't matter. But a lot of Republicans, conservatives, and quote unquote patriots are looking like liberals. Now, it ain't, you want to look that way, that you do your thing. And I tell people, you want to look like that? Well, and then it depends on who you are. I'm screenshotting every influencer out there. There will be a walk of shame. Now, vengeance is God's. I'm not going to do anything to them, but I'm still going to post it. Exposing people is showing that there's no consistency with a lot of these people. So my podcast yesterday, I titled it, Drain Your Swamp. When President Trump does something, you don't keep hanging on to the same bullshit. And excuse my language, but I'm just going to be a little blunt here. When he gives someone a nickname, you don't go make them part of your little family. He gave them a nickname for a reason. So it shows you're not listening to the commander in chief. All right. You're not listening to the man you claim to support. So when he goes and tears somebody up or roasts somebody, you don't go, oh, well, I like Tucker Carlson, but why would he say that about Tucker Carlson? What do you know about Tucker Carlson, except for what you see on the screen? See, that's the thing I kept telling people from the get-go with me. I'm like, look, it's okay. Hold me at a distance. You don't know me yet personally. Hold me at a distance. But I was put here for a reason. And what's going to happen is my consistency is going to show you that I was put there. And it's okay to hold people off at a distance. But what I do is a completely lot different than any other podcaster out there, especially like the big ones like Rogan and all these other dudes. But Alex Jones, I don't have anything personal against Alex Jones. I don't know him personally. However, the Bible says you can judge a tree by the fruit it bears. Alex Jones has never talked about laws and orders. Not one time. Not a single law. Tucker Carlson never did. He never talked about laws and orders before even before President Trump. And he was someone that was around before President Trump. Never talked about laws and orders. None of them did. None of them talked about legislation. No one talked about the three branches of government. None of them talked about the Federalist Papers. None of them talked about our Declaration of None of them. Candace Owens, same thing. And then with her, it's a little slightly different because she's a person of color, right? And she comes out, she uses all the same language that you cling to and you listen to, and you go, oh man, this is great. She's a person of color and she's a Republican and she's a this. And then you don't know anything about their background. But what separates the wheat from the chaff is that, well, Derek Johnson and a few others I go on with, we talk about the laws and the orders of what President Donald John Trump is using. And it don't matter if it was a corporate law and a BS law made by a bunch of corporate. President Trump's using all their language against them. He said, you know what? I'll beat you with your own bullcrap corporate system. I'll take all your language and use it on you, just like the reserve components. He said, okay, you say I got to declare a national emergency to be able to use the troops. Okay, fine. I'll declare 11 of them. And he did. So he beat them with their own material. And so it's like my mother was saying today, we were talking about something about when President Trump was roasting the guy from AT&T. Whoever the guy is running AT&T needs to get, well, my mother was saying that she said that when she worked at a paper mill, she said, we always had a slogan that it won't get fixed until it happens to the boss. Well, see, that's why President Trump, if he went in and just with a magic wand, but did it just like that, you hear me snapping my finger. If he went in there and changed all your gas numbers, all your inflation, and changed everything and just went in there like a faucet or a light switch, well, that would create laziness with other people because they go, well, if he can just walk in there and flip all these numbers and bring everything down, then what would people do? They wouldn't appreciate the system even when the system's cleaned out. They would expect that to be done every time. We're at a population of 340 million people and rapidly growing. All right. It's not what our founders had in mind from that aspect. But the Constitution, the Declaration, and all our foundational papers and literature fits no matter how big the population is. It's the mindsets of the people that's got to fit with that. So you're always going to have people bitching and whining and complaining about something, and most of them have no experience in that. And what they use President Trump for is, one, he is very, very high IQ, no doubt, with everything, physics, etc. He's a very brilliant person, but he also understands military. He's a delegator. I highly recommend to go watch the movie about Bear Bryant, the University of Alabama's football coach. He was so successful for a reason. He was a delegator. He didn't coach the players all day, every day. He coached the coaches. And then the coaches replicated what he did. President Trump is the same way. He's the delegator. And when someone doesn't do what they're supposed to be doing, he has the power and also the audacity, but also the wits and everything to go, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, no matter who they are. Friend, best friend, known them for years, you're fired. You're not getting the job done. We're still friends, but you're not getting the job done. So they chose a man who is a businessman, who's a no-nonsense guy. My dad is the same way, and my dad is older than President Trump. I was just telling someone this story yesterday. It was so funny. My dad was a big upper-level management for Scott Paper Company, which became Kimberly-Clark. Big outfit, still there. All right. Well, we were walking in a store one time, and this guy ran into my dad that worked for my dad. And, of course, on the front, he put on a smile and everything like that. Oh, hey, mister. Oh, it's good to see you. Well, my dad and I separated in the store, and I went over to the sporting goods or something like that, and that guy found me in the store. And he said, I just had to come over here and tell you. I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but he said, your dad was a son of a bitch. But he said, that son of a bitch could get everybody to work. He could make he said he treated everybody individually. He knew everybody's name. 5,000 employees now. My dad knew all their first names. and he treated them equally but differently according to their personality. He knew how to manage. And when you're working with something that big of a corporation, and especially with the big bosses over my dad, the ones that the CEOs and the CFOs and the COOs, and they got production to make, and you're talking about toilet tissue and paper tissue and all that, when there's production goals to be met, and there's investors and there's all kinds of money there already, you have to have people who know how to produce. And most of the people bitching right now are people who have never done shit in their life. And you have to be sometimes blunt like this, going, okay, so you either trust the guy or you don't. This, like Jenny just said, you either on the fence. I mean, you're on one side of the fence, you're on the other. Quit sitting on the fence, but pick a side. I don't know how people cannot see at this point, especially quote unquote patriots. How can you not see all the wins? Where are the Bushes? Where are the Obamas? Where are the Clintons? Where are all these people? If they're free to roam, where are they? Why aren't they out there in these retarded Democrat cities out there with all these infested, all these people who are acting like idiots? Why aren't they out there rallying their little infested people? Why aren't they out there doing rallies going, hey, we know how to take America back. Trump's destroying it, blah, 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 blah. Where are these people? So, you know, I get fired up because I'm like, it's exciting. I mean, you have literally watched the swamp be drained right in front of you. And the big, beautiful bill is going to take time to see the fruits come in, because we're talking about a fundamental reset has happened in this nation. Fundamental. And the tariffs have to take time. It takes time to come in. And so see, the thing I'm trying to get people are already looking out to 2028, 2029, and 2020. Well, 2029, 2030, and 20. I'm like, look, this was a military operation. They successfully drained the swamp. President Trump and all the people he's nominating, they're going to carry this legacy forward. They're all in the same mindset. So you need to know that. But see, what people are struggling with is because they don't, until you know the language, the verbiage, and the literature of a military occupation, military operation, continuity of government, a government in exile, puppet government, until you know all those things, and then you see that that's taken place already. And when we do a partial continuity of government, that means we're on the flip side. We're on the out now. We're going towards being out of that and back to a full constitutional everything. As President Trump said, we're taking the power out of D.C., giving it back to the people. Well, we can't give it back to the people if the people don't know what the heck's going on. There will be disclosures. There will be. President Trump's already posted, all roads lead to Obama. Would you like to see public military tribunals? I mean, it's so funny to me that people can see him post, and then you'll have people out there, well, that's a repost. Well, what's the difference? He put it on his page, and it shows exactly what it shows, whether it's a post or a repost or not. It doesn't matter. Well, he didn't mean to share that. What do you say? Are you serious about that? The man who's in his 70s, who used social media in his 70s to get to millions of people, he is the one that used social media in politics as his forte. And you think that he messed up on one post, two posts? Are you serious? So see, it's that mentality out there. You have all these doubters because they're doubting themselves. Because if you don't know the language, the verbiage, then now some people don't matter. 50, 60-year-olds, you're not the future. It's just for your solace. The future are 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds who are going to be stepping up to those plates. Those are the ones we really have to educate. But again, you know, it's like if you love this man and support this man, wouldn't you want to know what he's working with? Because if he didn't have laws and orders and rules and protocols, then the liberals would absolutely revolt in another kind of manner. They would revolt in that kind of manner. And we would never leave that mentality where it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I hate the word politics because it shouldn't be that. We have a government. We have to have a government, especially with our population. But if you want to use the term politics was never supposed to look like this, ever. I mean, it's not supposed to be malicious and vicious and people want to knock each other's heads off and push their teeth down their throat. It's supposed to be something that works for everybody. And look at where we are. That's like I was doing on the last podcast with Jenny, with the lady that she sounded hostile, and every female on my team said, yep, male, we know when a female sounds high pitched, right? We guys know. we know. Well, but when you're rooting for right now, the other portion of people are, when are we going to see? We can't fix anything until we see arrest. No, that's the wrong attitude. That's the wrong attitude, because if you know what a military occupation is and a continuity government and a government exile, judgment's coming, because they wouldn't have ever put this unique operation on our nation if there wasn't going to be a form of punishment on the end. That's coming. What we got to do is got to reset our fundamental values and principles to where this shit don't ever happen again. We got to get to where we identify what leads to people having to be arrested. Because if you go back to train up a child in the way that he should go and he won't depart, like the Bible says, well, why have I been a good person my whole life? Why is my record clean? Why don't I have anything on my record? And what do I get for that? Nothing. Because I'm doing what you're supposed to be doing as an adult and also a good, decent human being. And look at all the other people out there in the same shoes as me. We don't get a prize for being a good, decent, moral citizen. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So we have to have a fundamental reset with every system out there that says, all right, here's the discipline we're going to establish. Here's the structure we're going to establish and the discipline in that. Then we're going to have this protocol for this here, here, and here, and here. And then we're going to have accountability, responsibility, honesty, and transparency again. And when you have everybody working on the same accord on the front end, then the little hiccup or discrepancy you have along the way will be easier to identify and to deal with, versus what the flippage has been all these years with the swamp. Like President Trump, he said everything. He has said everything that needs to be said. He said these people would get fired. Let's say they're in finance. Oh, Susie's over here in finance. She gets fired from finance, and they put her over here in national security team. They didn't fire them and say, adios, see you later. DC, government's not for you. Oh, no, we just reshuffled them and put them in a whole new department. That's why they call it the swamp. Because if they were bad in that department, more than likely they were bad in that department because they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing in the first place. So it's why when you apply the principles here, you couldn't just unveil everything all in the front, because you got to set a new standard, a new set of principles, a new set of system, because our population's so big. There's no way we're going back to wagon wheels and things like that when it wasn't no internet and you didn't have to work. See, it wasn't that long ago. My grandfather used to joke with people. They'd say, I wish I lived in the old days. He said, oh, no, you don't. No, you don't. Not when there wasn't air conditioning. Not when there wasn't central air and central heat. No, you don't. And when there wasn't washing machines, they had that little thing they have outside, a little turn spindle. And you put your clothes through it and you pour the water over it. And oh, no, you don't. No, you don't wish you lived in the old days. And it wasn't that long ago. And I was talking to a friend earlier about this. I was like, it's funny that, when you hear people say our nation's fairly young and it's not that old, well, here's what they mean by that. When our founders established what they established, like I tell people all the time, I'm like, liberals look atrocious when they try to use the Constitution as their basis. Oh, Donald Trump, he's violated the Constitution. Do you know what the Constitution is and what it says? It's not the governance, intricate governance. The Constitution it says, the House is to be voted on this Tuesday of this month and for every 2 years. And then the Senate is every 6 years, and it's on this. And then it tells, what the legislative branch does and the executive branch and the judicial branch. It's not the intricate governance. The laws are the intricate governance. And the laws were supposed to be established by we, the people, what we wanted. And it was for a little while. And then it got hijacked. And if you go read the Federalist Papers exposes every liberal, horrifically exposes them, especially Federalist Paper number 10 and Federalist Paper number 14. James Madison, our father of the Constitution, is in there talking about how democracies are dangerous. And the Federalist Papers are very important for one reason. The Constitution was written September of 1787, and it was enacted in 1789, meaning we didn't start using the Constitution until 1789, when George Washington became president, etc. These Federalist Papers were in between, so October 1787 to August 1788. And it's 3 or 4 of them: John Jay, Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton, and James Madison, writing to the state of New York mainly, but writing to the state saying, this is why the Constitution will be great. And they tell all the different republics that they had studied and combined and put in everything. They combined all these republics from all over years past before then. And they annihilate democracies. Annihilate them. And so the Constitution is not what you want to use. Even Republicans do it. And that is not what you want to use as your basis. It's the Declaration of Independence and the Federalist Papers that you want to use, because that's what came out of the war. That's the real literature of why they wrote a Constitution. And then the laws after that. So to show why we're a young nation. So from 1789, it took them from 1789 to 1845 to establish the Statute of 1845, which is when and where and how we vote, the first Tuesday of every month of November. It took them from 1789 to 1845, but there was trial and error in there. They probably had to figure out back then, but the Pony Express, and there was no internet, so they had to get everybody on the same accord for the governor's sake, all right, to vote same day, and then, okay, report this to D.C., who won the governor of Alabama, who won the governor of Georgia, who won. So it took them a little while to get on everything on the same page, and the discrepancies, etc. Then there's certification, January the 6th. That was the electoral count of 1887. 1887, it took them 100 years to figure out the electoral process of reporting. So we're a young nation. We're still a young nation, but then we're a nation who lost their way. We already lost it with the 1871 going back to British, the crown. But now where we are, these kids today and these young people, but even not the young people, look at all these liberals. They look atrocious. He's saying the word Constitution. They don't know anything about it. They don't know anything about the laws and the orders. Candace Owens, prime example, sitting there talking about, oh, don't obey an unlawful order. You probably need to know the law first, Candace. You probably need to know that first, that you've never talked about on any of your shows whatsoever. All right. And here's a person who's never been in the military. And then look at the woman that I blasted her. She's on President Trump's prayer team, religious team. President Trump didn't nominate these people to that team. He didn't say, I want her, him, her. They are put together by other people and as a recommendation, and then presented to him to go, okay, yeah, that's cool. See, so many people don't even know that simple thing. Think that everybody working for President Trump is someone that he personally picked. That's not the case whatsoever. And it shows how much faith he has. But this person on this religious prayer team posting up a post, not our war, well, that's someone overstepping their boundaries. That's someone who's saying, oh, it got my photo with President Trump, and now I can say whatever. No. We're in a declared war, and a different kind of war. That's someone who can't even stay in their lane. This beauty queen who sat there on the stage and cried and said, oh, well, over a material thing because you didn't win some crown. Get out of here. Like, comparing that to the crown you're going to get with God, that's what they did. That is so materialistic. That's not a team mindset in the first place. And it's a material thing. All right. And so you have these people out there. They overstep their boundaries. Now, President Trump probably didn't see that because he's so busy doing everything else. But if that had been me, she'd have been fired effective immediately. because we have so many people who don't know team concepts. They don't know the military, and then they also don't know how to stay in their lane. And you don't want to replicate that. That's like I tell people, if you're a Republican, conservative, patriot, you don't want to replicate any of that. You want to look like you're on the same page, because what liberals do is liberals find it. There's this dude on Twitter, X, he finds all these Republicans, conservatives who put up one post, have their little moment of weakness, and he'll screenshot them. He's watching them. He knows who they are. He'll screenshot them, and bam, he'll post it. And he gets hundreds of thousands of views. And I'm like, all Republicans and conservatives right now are looking stupid, and don't have to. If you knew the laws and orders and what you're supposed to know, especially what the president's working with, that's going to exonerate him. He has to have laws and orders. That's the only thing that will exonerate him, because they're all time stamped and they're constitutional. They're bipartisan as well. So if everybody knew what they were supposed to, but especially these big influencers, they would. So many hung themselves this week. It wasn't even funny, but it's great in another way, because again, that's what we were asked on the panel with the veteran panel that I do once a month now. Well, it was great in another way, because so many people have to see their quote unquote heroes damn themselves sometimes, because then it'll point to the ones who are consistent, going, this is a military operation, it's a military occupation. All right, it's a continuity government. It sounds like a broken record, but it's a beautiful broken record. And so this bill is perfect. Give it time. You ain't even giving it time. No one's even got to see it go into action yet. But it's a thing that's going to lead us to the golden age. So many people are falling for the hiccups and falling for distraction pieces that are planned, that President Trump does. He does these things where he'll go, and even his personal text messages, like this text message system, he'll send out, hey, I'm being sued by so and so, and well, there's still people out there in La La Land and regular Normieville who are still just going to work, coming home, turning on Fox News, go to bed, go to work, come back home, turn on Fox News. Those are those people who have to see that. The people who are on Telegram, you're already in a different league, because not many people know about Telegram on the bigger scale. All right, so it already shows you're in a different category. You definitely don't want to look like those people if you're falling for that. President Trump's having to play a role with that. It's a fundamental reset. So 2017 to 2021 was a fundamental reset of the legislative branch. It was all about laws then. Law this and law that and law this, executive order this, executive order that, executive order this, that, and that. 2021 to 2025, quote unquote, Joe didn't receive anything that a president's ever received before on Inauguration Day. Not a single bit of that was military regulation whatsoever, and straight up inauguration customs. That was your first visual, if you knew to look for it. Well, then it was nothing but executive branch the whole time. President this and president that. President this, president that. President this, president that. President can't do this, president can't do that. President can do this, can do that. All that. Now you're seeing what? 2025, the present day. Judge this, judge that. Judge this, judge that. Judge did this, judge blocked this, judge did this. Supreme Court did this. Fourth Circuit did this. Sixth Circuit did this. Ninth Circuit did this. It's all judge, judge, judge. Court, court, court. So you watch the executive branch be reset from 2021 to 2025. Now you're watching the judicial branch be reset. And we're winning. Everything's a win. So now they can't make everything look like it's all biased with President Trump. That's why people jump ship with Amy Coney Barrett and Gorsuch and all these people. People jump ship, but they can't make it look biased. They can't be in there just voting everything. Oh, well, and President Trump nominated me. Yep, I'm President Trump. No, the law has to go by the law. Some of this stuff was on purpose. Some of this stuff was done on purpose to get them to vote another kind of manner, to reset the judicial branch. It can't be all biased one person. It's the same thing with Democrats and Republicans. It's not supposed to look like this. And like the people rooting for Hillary to be hung. And if you're rooting for that, you haven't read much of the Law of War Manual and Humanity. because the same other side, your nemesis and your arch rival, if you want to call whatever kind of terms you want to use, they're rooting for President Trump to be hung. What's the difference? What's the difference? See, it's not supposed to look like that, period. We have to get back to where our foundation is set up to where we prevent things from ever festering to what it festered to. And then we won't have to worry about that. If everybody will fight the way you're supposed to fight, we won't have to get to the bigger battles. We can fight because America is an ideology. It's just on a piece of paper. Ideas of all these men who got together back then and said, well, this worked in this republic, but it failed here. This republic worked here, but it failed here. And this republic worked here, but it failed here. They took all that into consideration. And they combined it. And here we are looking like all those other republics that were failing because people quit doing what they were supposed to be doing. That old Merle Haggard song, Merle Haggard, the great Merle Haggard, country music, artist and songwriter. If people start doing what they ought to be doing, then they won't be booing no more. Pretty simple. I have friends, they love my little saying, it's that simple. Well, it is that simple. But see, everybody has a role to play. And it don't matter if you just have a little bitty role. It don't matter if you just comprehend one little area of law or whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. You still got to find that and then give it your all. And then right when you think you're tired and fatigued, give it 10% more. So that's what the big, beautiful bill. I mean, it ain't even here yet. And people are whining and complaining. And most of the people whining and complaining have never been in business whatsoever. So that's what I think about the big, beautiful bill. It's like, you got to give it time. The tariffs are doing what they're supposed to be doing. The USMCA already proves Canada's already on board. So all the stuff, the up and down with Canada that people hang up on. President Trump ended NAFTA and established the USMCA, the United States Canadian Mexican Agreement. He wouldn't have established that if it wasn't already handled. But the way you know that is to know that what we're in is a unique set of laws. We're in a unique set of laws and orders that invoke a continuity of government and a military occupation, military government, military operation.
And real quickly, Derek, I read something today that from the tariffs, the revenue that Trump has done is in the billions. Everybody, so they're working, and in the long run, they're going to be, a great thing. So that's a big number. And Derek, can you and touch on too? Because I always tell my audience, and I tell people that I talk to as well, they've caught them all. When he says we've caught them all, we have it all. That's something. He means something. So that's what we're seeing come to fruition with all the exposure, with all of these things he's putting to the forefront, and how all these things are happening. Can you kind of tell people like that? That's a thing. It does mean something. Did we lose you, Derek?
No, here's how you do that. There's two ways to do that. The first way to do it is to go to your military operation. There is no way. I'm going to stress this, and I've stressed this before. There is absolutely no way that President Trump, as an outsider, simply had a great campaign spiel and get, ads and marketing, and then went in there as a regular president and has drained the swamp and done what he done. There's no way. When Ronald Reagan got too charismatic with his language, they fired shots at him. When Gerald Ford did the same thing, they fired shots at him. And they made sure George Wallace from the state of Alabama didn't even make it as president because he was super, super charismatic, but super what our nation was supposed to look like. And see, like George Wallace, really fast, while I'm on him, let me paint a good example. When he stood in front of the University of Alabama and would not let the blacks stood it in, he wasn't racist himself. That's what they spun on him. But they don't listen to what he said. He said the law says right now that black students aren't allowed here. Congress's duty is to change the law. What would it look like for me as a governor to not abide by the law. The governor don't write the law. The governor doesn't pass the law. So see, that was people even in the 70s who had no freaking clue already right then the principles of law. He wasn't a racist himself, but he stood for the principles of law because he knew as governors, there were already some corrupt governors already then. So see, it always goes back to this military operation. All right. So if President Trump was a normal president and he quote unquote walked away January the 20th, 2021, if that was his farewell and I'll be back, I'll be back at some capacity, I'll be back soon. All the things he said, and then he did these rallies in 2021, 2022, 2023 on his money, his dime, his time. All right. Well, standing in Texas at the border during the election year, the federal election committee rules, plus if the swamp was still rampant, like proving my point again, if Obama's still running around free, if Hillary's running around free, if Bill's running around free, and all these people, Al Gore, all these people, if they're all running around free to roam the swamp as we know it, President Trump's down in Texas at the border, which is a federal thing, not a state thing. He's the one with the governor of Texas, not the quote-unquote sitting president that everybody thought Joe Biden was. All right, that would have been a breach of national security, one. Two, it would have been a violation of President Trump's own executive order with a national emergency for election interference, because if Joe was a sitting president, then that would have been interfering with the policies of the president. And if a former president was making a mockery out of a federal issue, standing there going, we need this and doing that and this, that would have been a breach of national security and a violation of federal law. Straight out the gate. Then you had New York. There's only one federalization order in place for the reserve components. And the reserves were active in 2022 and 2023. Quote unquote, Joe had no federalization order for those, and there's no Title 32 order in place for those. It says federal support in the executive order number 28 by Governor Hochul, not Title 32, which is state. That's your governor and your National Guard. There's no Title 32 order there. It says federal support. So the only person who's commanded the reserve components is President Trump. There's no order there by quote unquote Joe. Then you go to, which California was this year, so that's a little slightly different because now people would go, well, he's president right now, blah, 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 blah. Right? There's that same mentality. So let's go back to when he quote unquote walked away. Then you go to 2024 again. He met with 12 leaders 13 different times at Trump Tower and Mar-a-Lago. So then you got to go back to the 2020 campaign when he said, it was you, Joe. It was you, Joe. It was you who recommended the Logan Act on General Flynn. It was you, Joe, who told Obama about the Logan Act. Well, what did you see happen to General Flynn? He was drugged through the mud, drugged through the circus. They trashed his name, trashed his family, trashed his rank, trashed his military service and everything. You witnessed that. That's why y'all love General Flynn. I don't dislike General Flynn. I dislike what people did to General Flynn and pinned us against each other. That's what I dislike. And so General Flynn got drugged through all this crap that President Trump pardoned him for. All right. And so when you go back, that was when he was a vice president with Obama. And President Trump on the campaign 2020, all this was pre-planned. All of that was pre-planned. This whole thing is pre-planned. When he said that, he also followed it up. We have it all. We've caught them all in that same Logan Act spiel. Well, why didn't, so this is, so for the normie land out there, this is what you got to do. If you're not a normie, great. But if you have friends and family who are, this is what you do to them. You spill all that about the Texas border, New York. You got to know those things. That's military. It's all military laws. There's no such thing as a conspiracy theory with military law, but especially military law. There's no conspiracy theory with a federal law. They don't have to like it, but this is what it is. But military law especially. You cannot believe in the military and support military troops without supporting military law. It's just that there's no other way to split that hair. So when you know those things, then you go to 2024 and you say, okay, so the Logan Act is Title 18, Section 953. Title 18 is the codification book for federal law and criminal procedures, meaning that shows you when you break federal law, not a state law or federal law. So they portrayed to the American people that quote unquote Joe Biden from 2021 to 2023 had control of the House and the Senate, Democratic House and Democratic Senate. But they didn't revoke a single thing by President Trump. They didn't revoke the war order, Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550. They didn't terminate that, which would have needed a termination. It didn't have an automatic termination. But all the executive orders under that have national emergencies, 8 of them, with 8 national emergencies that are deporting the migrants, taking back the Panama Canal, the trafficking, the illicit drugs and opioids, all those things, and enforcing Doge. Old quote unquote Biden funded Doge in the American American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. He funded it. Go in there and read it. It shows it in there. The United States Digital Service, same thing. President Trump just renamed it. Same thing. He funded it. If people thought he was real. So from 2021 to 2023, not a single tariff was removed. The tariffs were put into place in 2018 by President Trump. From 2021 to 2025, not a single judge, not one single judge tried to block a tariff. From 2021 to 2025. Not a single thing was revoked that's currently being used right now. They quote unquote showed Joe, quote unquote, terminate 3 executive orders with 3 national emergencies, but it's because they had done what? They had fulfilled what they were supposed to do. The 8 that were left open or passed back to President Trump. He's taking back the Panama Canal. All right. And then the Doge is being enforced this year, was being enforced. So see, the 8 key executive orders with 8 national emergencies have an automatic 2-year termination, meaning if they're not continued, they automatically terminate. So those alone, and then you go back to now, the 2024. If President Trump was a former president and he's meeting with 12 foreign leaders and private establishments, which is the exact Logan Act, all right, it says private correspondence with foreign leaders. That is exactly what the Logan Act reads, private correspondence with foreign leaders. And Vice President Biden, under Obama, recommended Obama to use the Logan Act on Flynn, which was only he was the director of the Defense Intelligence. He wasn't even a president, obviously, duh. So here, the American people think that vice president is now president, and the guy that they says is a threat to democracy and violating the Constitution and a dictator and all these things, they didn't terminate one single war order. They didn't terminate anything. They didn't let the others automatically terminate. And then 12 foreign leaders on mainstream media every day for the whole world to see, not a single not a single Republican, conservative, patriot could say, he didn't meet with them. Yeah, he did. Right here, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, everybody. And they didn't invoke the 18th, the 14th, 18th, and 25th Amendment. You can invoke all those on him for meeting with in a private establishment with foreign leaders, 12 of them, 13 different times. And he's supposed to be a former president. So see, all that alone can prove that right there. And that's the one way you can prove that. straight out the gate. You don't even have to go to anything else. You don't need a part two to show we have it all. We caught them all, because it's an operation. It's a military operation. And what President Trump's done, he took all their language and the War Powers Act. That's the very key thing that people need to know. The War Powers Act of 73 was the deep state swamp trying to limit the powers of the president. So it always goes back to this again. Like my dad always taught me, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing from the front, you ain't got to worry about anything else. So see, if Congress is doing what they're supposed to be doing, if a senator's doing what they're supposed to be doing, if a representative is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and a president's doing what he or she's supposed to be doing from the start, then that balance will be there. And if we, the people, know what they're supposed to be doing for us in each of their lanes, and the legislative branch doing what they're supposed to be doing, executive branch doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the judicial branch doing what they're supposed to be doing, then the balance will be there, because everybody will be what? On the same accord, on the same page, and understanding of how the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch works, the three branches together. That'll be there. But we didn't have that with our majority of our families. Everybody's guilty. Every family's guilty. Someone's guilty somehow. So you go to 73. That was Congress amending the War Powers Act. Congress has that duty. Title 50 is Congress, congressional, legislative.
Did you move? All right, everybody, hang in there. All right, go ahead, Derek. Try again.
Yeah, it must be the weather here.
Oh, there you go. You sound better. Go ahead.
Must be the weather and AT&T. President Trump was hammering AT&T today, so we'll stick with President Trump because he knows. But you go back to, again, like with the quote unquote Joe. I mean, if I know it right out the gate, it sounds far fetched to people. Puppet government, not real, fake. All it does to the average person. I get that, because it's never been used before at this capacity in the U.S. It was with the puppet government of the Philippines, and it was the U.S. along with that. But that was a long time ago. And so what normally happens is that story don't get told till later. And so that's why it's so far-fetched for people straight out the gate. But the laws are there, the tactics are there. That's exactly what's been done. And so that War Powers Act, again, that was Congress trying to limit the president on his roles and duties. And, so President Trump is using them and beating them with their own system and their own game. And I hate to use the term game, but that's exactly what's taking place. Is he's taking that and goes, okay, so like the people who fell for Jasmine Crockett and Bernie Sanders this week saying that, I'd be the one that's supposed to know what's going. I'd be the one that's supposed to have to say so. I'm like, first off, that's what we call jive in the South, all right, and that's uneducated. That anybody who voted for that, but then again, she's in the continuity government. A lot of this is distraction, planned, etc. All right, depending on where she is and her location as well. A lot of it has to do with location. And then waking up people in those locations. Same thing what's going on with New York right now. All of this is still, as long as the law shows we're in a continuity government, which we are partially, then it's still part of the plan. All right, and it has an answer to it. There will be an answer. There won't be a destination. It won't be some day where everybody just comes to and it's like, damn. But there is going to be disclosure to all these things. But when you get to know the bigger picture, the 40,000 foot view, you won't get hung up on the hiccups. Because people like Jasmine and Bernie, when they're saying it's unconstitutional, and I'm the one that's supposed to have a say so Congress is the one who declares the war. Well, it's real simple. That's what Title 50, Chapter 33 is. Title 50 is your war and national defense. And then Chapter 33 is the War Powers Act of 1973. That is exactly what it's titled. And I'm going to say it just because I'm making my stand, and I'm going to keep saying it. But just like Bannon's people who were attacking me. Here's a guy who was in the Navy. All right. Here's another guy who's never talked about laws or orders. Here's a guy that got a nickname by President Trump. Why in the hell are people still following him? President Trump has separated him and he said nothing to do with me and my presidency. Nothing. President Trump has quoted this and still called him a nickname after that. And this Michael Wolff dude that wrote all these books that Sloppy Steve let in the White House, that all of a sudden all these books are popping up that are false about President Trump, he's the one that let him in. And how in the hell do people still follow this clown? And then he had a little minion that was under him somehow and getting on networks that I don't have access to, where I can't even defend myself. So this person saying this is how incompetent people are. You got to just say it. Like President Trump said, these people are not only stupid, they're incompetent. And there's a difference in stupid and incompetent. But then there's both. And President Trump says this all the time. It's like we're battling stupid, incompetent people. And this person is supposed to be with Bannon, and they're saying that this is in writing, time-stamped in writing, that Chapter 33 is not the War Powers Act. Get the you-know-what out of here. It is most certainly the War Powers. That is what. And so when I see people supporting Bannon and all these people, you're not getting it. You're not getting draining the swamp. But see, President Trump has also had to use certain people out there because they have massive platforms. And guess what people still do? Oh, well, I like him still. It don't matter what he said. Because people are not getting it. So we got to deal with this for a little while because people just will absolutely cling on something until they're absolutely told by the president himself almost in front of them, stop listening and following these people. But see, that's the people who don't go read and study what they can know. And so War Powers Act, when Jasmine Crockett and Bernie, the people who kept seeing that, especially Republicans, conservatives, and getting on the comment box going, oh, you idiot. Well, all they're doing is making an algorithm go up. And these people don't see that. They don't care about it in the first place. It just keeps their algorithms up. But all you got to know is, well, it was a Democratic House. I mean, think about that. That's hilarious. It was a fully controlled Democrat House of Representatives who introduced the war order under President Trump. That's how humorous this is. So see, a guy like me sitting back over here, I'm just laughing my rear end off on everybody. The liberals losing their minds because they don't know at all. And then you see the Republicans, conservatives, quote unquote patriots getting all ruffled going, oh, why is she saying that? I mean, the Republicans are all over the board. Some believe in it, some not. And this, I mean, the Republicans look worse than liberals. Liberals just don't know. They look like chickens with their heads cut off. They're just running around and, they just squawking. They have no. Republicans have. I mean, you could split hairs all day long. What one group says here and one group. And I'm like, you look worse than the liberals. At least there's one thing a liberal will do. They don't care about a football game. They'll go down. They'll look stupid with a sign on Saturday in front of a courthouse or a Capitol building. They will protest. They will actually, if they actually knew though what they were standing up for, most of them wouldn't do it, because if they had a brain to comprehend that, look, your rights and privileges are that's one thing, then the law is this. And if they had a brain to look at the law and see everything, then a lot of them would actually probably be better warriors than a lot of Republicans, conservatives, because Republicans and conservatives are still trying to act on what they think they know. Because if they ever question one lie, they got to question all of them. And a lot of Republicans, conservatives are still in that vein. And they only think they know what they know based off either their mama or their daddy or what they call their experience. Or I was in the military for 20 years. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's that humorous. Because what I'm trying to show people is like, hey, you want to get rid of the noise? Here's how you get rid of the noise. Here's what the commander's working with. This is it. And you don't have to follow the hiccups daily. Once you learn the operation, what they're doing, the bigger goal, and that, hey, we got to have a system. They're cleaning it out. Then you won't see, quote unquote, you would see Joe Biden for what he was. They had to use a pawn, what they call a fall guy. They had to have a fall guy. All right, what better person than the man who called black people all kinds of names in the early 90s? It's on record, and he said it verbally. I mean, he has put stuff in writing as well. All right, so what better person than the guy who was I think it was in the early 80s or the late 70s, where he admitted to corruption, that sometimes corruption is necessary, or whatever that quote was. I mean, this guy's like, this is time-stamped in history, on video, audio, you can see it. All right, and so we're talking about a guy who's been a plagiarist his whole life, even the real Joe Biden. So, you know, the detainee situation, when President Trump is posting, whether it's a post or a repost, it don't matter. We're talking about a man who is the most popular man in the world, on the planet. Everything he does is calculated, but also has to be calculated for other reasons, timestamps. One discrepancy by President Donald John Trump, we're not talking about a distraction. We're talking about one blatant discrepancy, and it negates everything. Just like all these idiots this week who jumped ship with not our war, like one of his team members on his religious teams. That's not part of the operation, ladies and gentlemen. That's someone who thinks they're bigger than what they are. And may not be seen, who knows. But that's someone that's bigger than what they think. They think it's bigger than what they think they are. So when you go to look at that operation, one little hiccup by President Trump, if one little thing replicates the days of old in the swamp, the whole thing's negated. Everything. Foreign war. Starting a foreign war. This was not, there's a huge difference in a war and an operation. What we've been yelling this whole time, way before Iran. Where were all the Republicans and patriots, the ones that jumped ship this week? Where were they? Were Yemen? Do you know that Yemen was a declared war as well, March the 15th to May the 6th? This year, U.S. bombing Yemen. Where were they then? See, because Iran is a name that's been ingrained in these people's minds for 40 years. It's bigger than they were in the country Yemen. They're both in executive orders by the swamp. Jimmy Carter, Iran, executive order 12170. All right, the oldest executive order with a national emergency. Been continued all these years by the swamp. Then you have Yemen, Obama, in 2012, executive order 13611. And then he had 4 in 1 year, 3 in 1 month with Ukraine, where he declared a national emergency with Ukraine, executive order 13660, 13661, 13662, and then 13685. So all of these, President Trump was handed to. So we got Russia to take care of Ukraine. He got Israel to start everything with Iran. And then also the same thing with Yemen. Saudi Arabia, we have multiple partners that's been in and out of Yemen. And at the time when quote unquote Joe when he was doing his farewell speech, I'm proud to say I'm the president who can say that there's no troops in conflict anywhere in the world. And the same week we're bombing the hell out of nations. Come on, people. I mean, it's that simple. And then the Marines, I think it was Marines, it may have been Army, but they're a bunch of young guys, had their social media in a fob over in Iraq or somewhere. I don't know where they were. I have to go back and look. But the next day, they're posting this video, and he goes, they're all looking at each other like, well, where the hell are we, and why are we here? I mean, come on, people. So if you want to love our military, why don't you listen to military personnel first? Tell you, this is a military operation. It's different. And the slight time, the one little discrepancy that President Trump does that replicates the swamp, it's all negated. Do you really think he would do that? Do you really think that? So see, you got to always go to the mirror and look in the mirror and say, do you really think that President Trump would do that? I'll even roll with the liberals for a moment. I'll roll with the Democrats. Let's just say President Trump's got an ego. Let's just say he's cocky. Let's say he is. I'm okay with that. I think cocky and confident are the same things. It depends on the person and how the person views it. Tuff Hedeman is one of my favorite bull riders of all time. He's one of my heroes when I was growing up. And someone asked him, what do you do? What do you do to prepare yourself to ride a bull? He said, you just get on the effing bull and ride, man. It's not rocket science. You just got to get on the bull and ride it. All right, that's it. Right? And so, same thing. You got to apply these things. Well, President Trump, I don't care if he is cocky. Somebody's got to be that person that says, all right, here's the plan. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're doing right now. It's go. Go, 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 go. All right. So let's go with the liberals for a moment. Let's say he's got an ego. Do you think that this man who has portrayed to be very, very confident over his life and also tells you, well, I did this and 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 I had this and I'm the richest this and the richest that and I got this. Do you really think that that kind of person is going to do something deliberately on purpose, which being the most popular man on the planet in the world, but also history's going to judge him? Do you really think? So see, I go back to the military. I don't care what people thinking about me. They'll say, this guy's got an attitude problem and this. I have a thing called a passion. I have a thing called being a good, decent person. Because when everybody's on the same accord in a man-made system, well, it's already a man-made system. But when everybody's pulling their weight, guess what? It works for better for everybody. The system does. It does. It's like Social Security. Prime example, great example. So I won't name their names, but I know some people personally who got upset about this whole Palantir thing and the AI, and then also, and I'm like, did you not see President Trump sign an executive order? He signed an executive order that says that the United States is going to be the only ones, the United States government, him, the federal government, 10 years, nobody else can have AI. Nobody. The article also read about Palantir, and it said this, and this is where people don't read. And this is where I teach people to read and see what you need to see. It said, and number one, I said it this way. Everybody was upset because they said, well, they're going to have our information and they're going to know everything about us and they're going to have our names and our numbers and our this and our that. I'm like, did you not read the freaking article? It said we're taking your information from 3 agencies and putting it in one. Oh, they're going to have our name and our information. They're going to know everything. Did you not freaking listen? It said they're going to take your information from 3 agencies and put them into one. They already have your information. So then you got to go, okay, do you believe in President Trump and what he's doing? Because he's the one agency. He's the new agency. He's the new sheriff in town. He's the one that signed the executive order that says no one can touch AI for 10 years except for us. We're going to have control. We're going to set this up. We're going to do what's right. Or do you want it to go back to the 3 agencies, which were the swamp? Which one do you want? They already have your information. See, that's where people don't listen. And that's where people let their emotions roll. And that also shows you don't really trust President Trump. You think you do, but you don't. Because if you reacted to that, you don't. Because the 3 agencies were the swamp. They already had your information. They were already screwing you over. They were already not doing what they were supposed to be doing. And they weren't going to distribute your Social Security the way you think they were. So that's the kind of stuff that can prove everything. We have it all. We've caught them all. But you got to trust President Trump.
Derek, real quickly before you get too off of Palantir, thank you for addressing that, because that is one of the things, along with this big, beautiful bill, that people are demolishing. And like you say, the emotions are getting involved. They have not read the bill. They're just going in through it, and they are taking it apart piece by piece and just You've probably heard it, Derek. Yeah, but I appreciate you addressing that, because that's another one, the Palantir situation. So
Well,
yeah, thanks, Derek.
let me tell you what else they did. So these four guys with Palantir, they they just commissioned them as lieutenant colonels. They got to skip every rank and commission in as lieutenant colonels. So they're making them go through the military, and they're going to do a sped up process, but they're still going to go through a speed up training to get to know the ways of the military. See, they're not exempting them so Palantir has been working with the military. See, that's where with the people who are panicking, I'm like, that's the people that I know that panic too, personal people I know personally. I said, I'm like, they've been working with the military and ICE the last 2 and 3 and 4 years. Where have you been? So if you believe in President Trump and you believe in deporting the illegal, unlawful migrants, then they've already been working with ICE with this. And then what people do is go, well, this person with Palantir, they did this and they believed in this. You're missing the point of what draining the swamp is. You're missing the point of all of us working together. Liberals that just believe in gay marriage or, this, that, and the other, but they don't believe in cramming it down someone's throat and all that. You got to be able to have differences, people. You got to have differences. It's not meaning you support it and you condone it, and it doesn't mean you support it from a funding standpoint either. But just because someone believes slightly different than you, that is called living and let living. As long as it's not being crammed down the throats and it's not also being funded, especially by the federal government or state governments, just someone believing that you can go down and there's some preacher that's in the middle. Let me just pick on some town, Charleston, West Virginia, and out in the boonies, right? And there's some preacher in the woods that says, come on out here behind this barn, you two gay people, and I'm going to marry you. Well, if someone wants to do that, then they ain't bothering you. All right? If they're paying for it, they're not bothering you. See, and people will take that and go, you support gay marriage? No, I don't. I'm saying live and let live. If the federal government's not got their hands in it and the state governments don't, and someone's just doing something on their will, that's their moral conscience, not yours, no matter what it is. So see, so many people don't even know how to do that. And I'm like, look at the gay people who voted for President Trump. Look at all the LGBTQ that voted for them, and they believe, hey, no, it wasn't never supposed to be this trans and cutting this and cutting that and doing this to children. There's some who get that. So what I'm trying to say is so many people are focusing on the wrong things, but especially this. The Palantir, they made 4 guys commissioned as lieutenant colonel. Now, you're going to have some military people think that's BS or whatnot, but these guys are brilliant people. And they commission in, and they're going to make them go through a form of training. It's already said it. The article says, I can't remember what the training was, but then it didn't say, okay, what are they going to do for PT and whatnot? But I'm like, well, it's the same thing. They're actually getting to go in, but it's an opportunity. So you don't worry about what someone personally believed. If they're working under President Trump right now, they're listening to President Trump. They're not operating on their own. And you better believe if they start to do so, especially someone in his eyesight that is a direct like that, they're going to be gone. You've already seen that. So see, that's what I tell people. If you're reacting to something that hadn't even happened yet, all right, but if it's something that is a direct under President Trump, then you got to believe in the man. He's already shown you he'll fire people. Look at the first 4 years. He was fired. Look at all the liberals. They're like, oh, he can't keep so-and-so. Look at there. He's already fired so-and-so and so. See, he was already showing you what the swamp. He was showing you also, though, there's a new sheriff in town, and people who don't do what they're supposed to be doing, you're out of here. Especially in a hired or fired position. It'd be different if they're elected. But look at all the ones when he says right now, he just was harping on the Thomas guy, that Tillis guy or whatever from, I'm drawing.
He's out.
Yeah,
yep,
he's
Tom
out.
Tillis.
And there's a Democrat right now. There's another one just was posted today, Democrat not seeking re-election. I mean, it's happening daily. I'm like, how do people not see this?
Is that Don Bacon you're talking? Don Bacon you're talking about, and then don't forget about Thomas Massey.
Well, him too. I mean, he's roasted all these people. And I'm like, how do you people look? I've got the photo of the 2022 not seeking re-election. I have all those photos. I'm like, they had to put them up like it was Wheel of Fortune. You know how Wheel of Fortune has a big puzzle, and it was all. So imagine it being like a Wheel of Fortune puzzle, and it was all these faces on there just like that. I'm like, people who didn't seek re-election. I'm like, how do Republicans, conservatives, how do you live with yourselves, the ones that are out there? How do you live with yourselves for saying nothing's happening? I mean, what are you watching? Like that Fox News. See, you're watching Fox. You're watching people. Fox News, ladies and gentlemen. Fox, OAN, Newsmax. Newsmax is a little better, and OAN's a little better than the others. But Fox and all these others. Here's what Fox News does. Most everybody had a grandma that could cook. My grandma would let me go in the kitchen with her, and I wanted the cake to be done like that. I was like, man, why can't that cake just be cooked like that? But it don't work like that. It takes time. All right, so grandma's got the little blender, got the little thing, and she's mixing up the chocolate, and she pulls those little things out of that machine, and she says, "You want to lick the chocolate?" Oh yeah, that's what I'm here for. I'm here for it, right? Would be like grandma letting you get one lick of the chocolate, going, "Okay, nope, you get one lick of the chocolate. I'm gonna get the rest of the chocolate off," and also never getting the cake. That's what Fox News does to you. They don't tell you what you need to know. They don't tell you anything. They're 24-hour news. It's like ESPN. ESPN will be talking all week about a game. They don't have any influence on the game. They just have their opinions on who they think is going to. They'll talk about the quarterback. Well, does the quarterback have the arm to compete with this? And what if they get hurt? And what if this? And what if that? That they go to the running back. Then they go to the team. They talk about everything. It's 24-hour news. Has nothing to do with if that team's prepared. My dad always says that about Alabama football. He said, well, the only thing that matters when they walk out on that field is how those players prepared all week. And then when they come to the field, do they remember what they planned? Did they remember it? And all 11 guys on each side has to do what? Execute their plan. That's all that matters at the end of the day. And not always the best team wins. That also happens. So see, so many people get hung up on things that don't even matter, and it's a hiccup along the way. And that's what we're trying to do is say, look, part of draining the swamp is also changing the method of your thinking. All right. I'm not trying to fundamentally change your thinking. What I'm trying to say is that you have been thinking a lot of people have been thinking the right way all along. It's that old saying, like when you expect different, insanity is expecting different results, but doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's what insanity is. So that's what a lot of Republicans and conservatives, liberals don't know that they don't know because they don't have a foundation. But when a Republican conservative actually has a decent foundation, but losing their minds weekly, well, it's because you're not feeding yourself what you're supposed to be feeding yourself. Because if I'm at peace and comfort and solace and everything, then you can be too. So if people ask me, how are you always so positive in this? I'm like, because I'm working with what the commander's working with. It's a chain of command, but it's also I'm working with what the commander's working with. And I don't let anything else affect me, shape me, stir me, or anything like that. But you can do that too. But you got to feed yourself the correct stuff. So it depends on who you are, where you are, and what you know and what you don't know. It depends on what level you're at. If you don't know the terms, military government, continuity government, government exile, if you don't know just the terms, then you got to go study the terms. Then go study those. Then you can go to the laws and the orders and look at what President Trump put into place and what he's using and where it was invoked here and where it was invoked here and this, that. Only then can you know that. And it's a lot of information. Like I tell people all the time, it is. My first book was 216 pages, and I had to crunch it down because my publicist was like, man, dude, you're going to have to crunch this, just crunch it. I mean, he's like, it's going to be too overwhelming. I'm like, it's already overwhelming. That's the whole point. And so part 2 is 596 pages. We're 4 pages away from 600 pages. But it's all there. And I mean, it is that. And it's actually more than that. I couldn't put everything in there because it would look like Obamacare. Ain't nobody read Obamacare. Obama ain't even read Obamacare. It's so long. So, it is a lot of information, but it's a unique strategy, and it's all there. But so many people are just getting hung up on the hiccups, and it depends on who you are. I expect that from people who don't know or hadn't heard yet. But when you've heard me over and over, especially me, when you've heard me over and over and over, and you haven't read, I can tell when people write in. I can tell if they'll say, I followed you since the beginning, and they'll ask a question, and I'm like, if you're asking that question, you hadn't read anything or followed anything I've done. So I'm not mad at people, but I'm just like, I can tell. I had a guy the other day, real belligerent, meet me somewhere. I'm like, oh yeah, Mr. Meet you somewhere. Like, I'm like, I meet people who are nice people who want to be met the right way, but like telling me to meet you somewhere, like, I can tell you hadn't read anything. You hadn't studied anything. You hadn't comprehended anything. Asking questions about the vaccine. I'm like, dude, that's old news. President Trump said hydroxychloroquine, chloroquine. How many other times you got to hear the man say hydroxychloroquine, chloroquine? Where do you get Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, and Pfizer out of Teva and Sandoz? Where do you get that? So, see, people don't listen to the man. They hear what they want to hear, and they try to apply it to that. And what I'm trying to say is this is a unique strategy, unique operation, unique laws, unique orders. They will be rescinded, revoked, terminated. Mission accomplished, completed, all of them. They will be. But what separates that, most of you Republicans, conservatives, patriots are still not looking at the unique laws and orders, the unique strategy, the unique operation, and trying to make all this every 4 years. It's not that. There was a line in the sand. November the 8th, 2016. That was your visual line. Then your real visual came on January the 20th, 2017. So there is a line in the sand that separates the swamp from President Donald John Trump. There's a clear line. And that clear line also separates the swamp's rhetorics, and they use laws and orders in a manipulative fashion to twist and manipulate and to make you think they were using laws and orders, and they weren't. And that's why you got a bunch of liberals acting like a bunch of spoiled children, because they actually know it in another kind of manner. They may not know exactly what it's doing lawfully from the standpoint of the literature, but they know that the laws have never been enforced, and now they're being enforced exactly as prescribed by the law. And they may not can put their finger on it literature-wise, but they can, because they already know that, that fundamental laws and orders are being applied the way. Now, they're being applied constitutionally. They'll yell that some's constitutional because they don't know anything about it. They don't know anything. So Republicans, conservatives don't want to look like that, especially patriots, people who call themselves a patriot. You don't want to look like that. You don't want to replicate them. And a lot did this week, especially all the ones that jumped ship with the Iran thing. It wasn't a war. It's not a war. It's an operation. There's a war order because it had to be in the War Powers Act, but it's not a war. It's an operation. Military usage, not a war. But what's great about it for you patriots out there that you should be licking your chops for and getting really excited for is, so 3 days ago, whatever it was, I can't remember, I put a post up on True Social. I saw a message come through that, hey, your True Social's not showing up. I'm like, uh-oh. So I was in a place where my phone got reception, so I pulled up True Social, and sure enough, nothing. I could tell I had been blocked, banned, or something, deleted. So I text Siggy, sent a text to Siggy, said, hey, and I sent a screenshot, said, looks like True Social blocked me, banned me, deleted, or something. And so she put me in a group text with someone that everybody will know. I'm not going to say their names, but just for right now. And put me in a group text, and she was like, I won't say the word she used. she loves the F word.
Yeah.
So she said, these beep people give him so much hell. And she said, and she's like full-fledged on my side, obviously, but so, and anyway, he goes, Yeah, and they banned him too. Like, so anyway, he said, all right, so Devin Nunes was put in the loop, and I mean, we're talking about 30 seconds. This just happened quick. This all happened in a matter of like 5 or 10 minutes between the text message to Siggy and the person I'm talking about that everybody would know, and then boom. And so I refreshed the page, and it was already back up, and I mysteriously gained 1,000 more followers, which was funny. When they deleted me, I had 108,000. Now I got 109,000. So that was a mystery. Like, where were those 1,000? Well, why weren't they showing up? So anyway, so I shot the screen. I said, "Oh, back up and running." And he was like, "Dang, that was quick." Well, what it shows you though is this: about 30 minutes later, I received an email from the team at True Social, and that I'll be getting my verification badge. And it happened really quick. And I mean, they said within 24 hours. Well, when I went and refreshed the page, I already had a red check. But when I was telling Siggy, I said, well, I don't like publicity from the standpoint of publicity and seeking publicity. And here I am, a country music artist. I know all about publicity and how you can create it, and also how you can receive it honestly or dishonestly, how you can create it honestly and how you can create it dishonestly. A lot of people might know that, some might not. Even my Billboard team, I'll be completely honest, my Billboard team said, you ought to do something controversial. This was like 4 years, this before everybody knew me from this angle. This was just when I was just a country music artist. They said, you need to do something controversial. That's the thing right now. I'm like, no, I don't want publicity that bad. If God's gonna give it to me, I'm gonna get it honestly. Well, so I told Siggy though, I said, well, there's one thing that will come out of this though, is like the last post I put up is showing I'm immediately directly over the target. The last post I put up, see, President Trump's been hammering Obama lately. And this is why I was real harsh on quote unquote patriots, but Republicans, conservatives about the whole Joe Biden thing. I'm like, the man, it don't matter if it's a repost or not. The man put on his page a post, and in the bottom it said Joe Biden's been executed in 2020. President Trump sees all, knows all, everything. This man is a master of using social media. And the people who said, "Oh, he didn't see that down there. That was a repost of another post, and he reposted something, and it was a triple post." It doesn't matter. It's visible for the world to see who follows President Trump. It's visible. He's been hammering Obama lately. The 1.7 billion, and then it shows someone put the photo of Obama standing over the cash pallets, kneel down. He posted that, and then he posted, all roads lead to Obama. And on the bottom of that post, very visible, on the same post, it says, share if you would like to see military tribunals, public trials. For the whole world to see, President Trump, on his True Social, is posting that. And this Iran thing ties directly to Obama because of the great, quote unquote, great Iran deal that Obama made, where it specifically said in that deal, which I just posted all the .gov sites again, still there, up, shows Obama White House archives, 3 decimal point, 7% enrichment is what Iran was supposed to have. And then Fordo wasn't supposed to have any enrichment. Guess what the hot topic is? Fordo. They're the ones who had the most enrichment in this Obama deal. And he's on video. I posted that video where he's saying, all these people out there saying this, this, and this, and that. They don't know what they're talking about. Where are they right now? This was Obama way back in 2016. Telling everybody. So he's on video, timestamp forever. All right. Remember Clint Eastwood at the Republican National Convention? And he said Obama will go down as the greatest fraud ever perpetrated on the American people. All right, so all this is tying in that great Iran deal 1.7 billion and 150 billion sent to Iran. All right. And so he's also on video saying about we had to use cash because we don't have an account set up with them. You know how stupid that sounds. Come on, American people. I mean, you think we're the United States government, we can't go down to Regions Bank or a bank and, Bank of America and say, well, I'd like to set up an account. And we'd like to, even if they didn't have one, you can say, well, you can say, we'll set you one up here and we'll just transfer it this way and you'll have access. Here's your code. Get the you-know-what out of here. I mean, that's the stuff that makes you want to slap people. It does. It does. There's some exemptions there. I wouldn't slap a grandpa, but I'm like, there's some exemptions. But my God, have mercy. Some people, if they're in age bracket of capability, they just need to be slapped sometimes. I'm like, did you hear what the quote-unquote president of the United States of America just said? Can you comprehend it? So all this stuff's tying in. Fordo wasn't supposed to have any enrichment. Then Yahoo News yesterday or day before, liberal Yahoo, used to be liberal, Yahoo, right? They put out that, if the UN ambassador to Iran and the International Atomic, and then they said, if the United States is okay with it, they can transfer this enrichment elsewhere to nations who are trusted with nuclear, like us. Well, it said 20 to 60% transfer. I thought they're supposed to be at 3.67%. And then people out there that don't want to listen to me, how can he know what he knows? He wasn't a general. He wasn't a colonel. He wasn't high ranking. He didn't spend X amount of time in the military. Well, you got the general unclassified report put out, President Trump's general, 83.7% is what they were at. Out of 90%, I'm pretty sure even if it was 10%, it ain't 3.67. It's at 83.7%. So see, all roads lead to Obama. Well, then it goes back to the quote-unquote assassination attempt. It wasn't real. It's all special operations. It's all in our unconventional warfare, irregular warfare, special operations. This assassination is a tactic. If you can't comprehend it right now, then you don't need to get mad and flustered about it. Once you know something is a military tactic, even if you can't comprehend it, then you need to put it down and don't say anything at all. And then when President Trump and all of it comes out in history, or no matter when it is, a year from now, 2 years, it doesn't matter if it's a day, 10 years, whatever. It doesn't matter. If you don't comprehend it, then you can't say, I don't believe that. It's all a military tactic. It's special operations. If you don't comprehend special operations, sorry, I can't help you. I try to if you'll try yourself, but it's there. But if you can't comprehend it, put it down. Come back to it later. But this unconventional warfare pocket guide with the same assassination in it, Executive Order 12333, which is what they call the assassination order by Ronald Reagan, is referenced in our Special Operations Command, along with the word assassination in there that changed from 1966. It went from agitation in 66 to 2016. All of a sudden, it's assassination, and you think that's coincidence? And then President Trump's got this court case over here in March 2024. There's a lot of court dockets under him, a lot of dockets, but 23-939, it's all public. All public. You can go access this and read this. All public. March 19, 2024, under 23-939. Go to supremecourt.gov docket search. Type in 23-939. The dash matters. All right, 23-939. Scroll down to March 19th and be sure if you're on a browser to drag the number over. When you get to the case, drag it, because if you click on it and you try to backspace, it's going to crash the page and you got to reset it. All right. It's what they do for a reason. So when you get to the March 19th, there's a few of them there. You got to find the one that says 3 military officials. It'll say that to the right. You click on it. Go read it. The question says what? It specifically says, can a president order SEAL Team 6 to commit murder on a political rival? Well, the last time SEAL Team 6 and a president were involved with something was Barack Obama and Joe Biden as vice president. 2011, May the 2nd, 2011, Osama bin Laden was killed. Well, then you go 5 months later, and Gaddafi was assassinated. So if you go to Google, it shows you, it tells you definitions on Wikipedia. Still, even though Wikipedia, whatever, still controlled by someone that's not you. All right, it says that Osama bin Laden was killed. Gaddafi was assassinated. Well, that's the last thing I posted on Truth Social were the photos and the evidence of the court case. And my long write-up said, you guys think that you want justice? Well, it's coming. President Trump's been truthing about all roads lead to Obama and military tribunals, and Joe Biden's been executed. All right. And then, boom, here's all of a sudden Iran, that executive order that Jimmy Carter and the bureaucrats, the quote-unquote diplomacy, all these years, 44 years that thing's been continued. 44 years. What were they promising Iran? Well, they got $151 billion out of us. Cash money, baby. All your taxpayer money right there, some of it. So there was that. And then we lost a lot of troops along the way. You had Bird Dog doing what? That Fall Guy, doesn't matter, Palm, whatever. We lost troops trying to go get his sorry ass, even though I know he wasn't real. But for the people who think it was, that's how you got to look at it. And if he was real, he still earns that title. You don't leave your post. So all that stuff. And then Gaddafi, the perfect, he stood in front of all those world leaders some years back, and he told them, he said, if you think that this won't happen to you, what the United States did to Saddam Hussein, you're a fool. And all of them laughed at him. And Syria's leader, who fled not long ago, who up and packed his lip, which that was all strategic as well. He was the main one laughing at him. He's the one on the video laughing at him. And then he was, quote unquote, assassinated. 5 months after Osama bin Laden. Well, what did Hillary Rodham Clinton, what was she known for? Balling her fist up under oath. What does it matter? They're gone. Remember Benghazi? I think we have some popular movies about Benghazi in our military, right? Well, guess who Gaddafi was the leader of? Libya. Benghazi. So see, all of a sudden, a big, giant can of worms just opened up because guess what? Guess what, Steve Bannon and all you idiots? Guess what, people? Guess whose name is not in the War Powers Act of 1973, Chapter 33 of Title 50? Guess whose name is nowhere to be found in the War Powers Act? Barack Hussein Obama. It's got a lot of explaining to do to the American people. So things like George Bush may and may not be ever prosecuted because in the Law of War Manual, if you go to section of humanity, it says that if you can't catch certain people in that, if it's years and years down the road, it's kind of like double jeopardy in our law. All right. But there's certain things that are going to be relevant enough that's going to open up enough can of worms. You will see justice, ladies and gentlemen. But what we got to do simultaneously is while you're seeing justice, we also have to set the precedent of the new system moving forward to where we don't ever get to that, where we can catch it before it reaches a festering, very evil, corrupt group of people, not just one person, but especially one person. If we can catch one before they become a group, great. It's what it's supposed to be there for. So everybody's going to see justice. You just got to hang in there. But that's what's happening right now, and that's what this is setting up for, that this closure and however they bring it all about. I'm not in the command room, so I have no way of knowing that. But I'm far enough ahead. It's like Lieutenant Colonel Bosey said the other night. Everybody's special operations, everybody is always 2 and 3, 4 years ahead of everybody. So that's why my documents were already ahead of everybody, and also the books are ahead. And I hate that we have delays, but we have delays because so many people are so slow at picking up what's going on. It had to be this way.
Amen. It's like I tell my audience, Derek and everybody here, it's patience. We gotta, we didn't get like this overnight. So and we are at war, right? It's an information war. It takes time. So with that, Derek, I gotta cut this. But Derek is here every 2 weeks, everybody, every Monday, same time, same place. So Derek, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Well, yep, we'll be on the other side of July the 4th, so I'm sure that's going to be an exciting day for everybody, but especially President Trump. So he told everybody July the 3rd is a marker, a world fair. So, we're getting to exciting times. Just people need to be excited, and people need to be like flexing your muscles and feeling like you want to run through a brick wall. That's how excited you should be.
Well, and the moral of the story, everybody, is again, like I always say, and Derek has said it here, you've got to be careful who you listen to and who you're following, because there's a lot of shit being put out there. So many of my guests have said it as well. I've talked to you guys about it, and Derek said it here tonight. Consistency. If your people you are not following are not consistent and they keep going with the narrative, changing the narrative, that should be a red flag to you. So if they're not consistent in what they say, Derek has been nothing but consistent. 107 has been consistent. So many have been consistent that I bring on here. Then if they're not consistent, then that should tell you everything you need to know. So
let me tell you one more thing. Let me show you something me and my dad taught me. So Alabama football. Come on, bring it on, haters. Give me all the hate mail. Georgia Bulldogs, Auburn, you name it. Come on, bring it on. Right? Well, that's my team. My grandpa listened to the first national championship Bama ever won in 1925 on radio. All right, my grandpa. That's my dad's dad. And my dad. Alabama could be playing the Pittsburgh Steelers of the 70s, and I'm going to think they're going to whoop their butt. Because I have faith in my guys, always. And if someone talks bad about Alabama, hey, I'm going to defend them because I know my history. I can name all our championships. I can name all our SEC championships. I can name our history. I know it through and through. If someone's talking negative, turn it off. I ain't got to listen to it, because if my boys prepare, they prepare. If they're ready, they'll be ready. So it's kind of like that, where you stand in the corner with your team no matter what. And even if you're down by 30 at halftime, you say, well, you know what? You're about to lead the greatest comeback in history. Now, they might not do it, but you still have that attitude, because if they did, if that was the thing that led those young men to victory, they'll always remember that you had a positive attitude. All right. And there's always a positive in anything anyway, even when you get beat. Bear Bryant used to say you got to win with pride and lose with pride. All right. There's always a lesson to be learned in everything. So if everybody would apply that with President Trump and the military and have that positive attitude all the time, and when something gets negative, go, oh, turn it off. I ain't listening to that today. You ain't getting me down today.
Amen.
Right? If everybody have that attitude, then it don't matter if something did go wrong, because it may not be a bad wrong. It may be something you can learn from it, right? So if people would take that attitude, you'd have a whole different perspective on life, period.
Well, like I said earlier too, everybody, if you're not paying attention to Trump and following him, he's got a great sense of humor. He's just not a guy that looks concerned at all. So please follow him. And if you're not following him, just pay attention. If anything, you're following any one person, follow Donald Trump. So with that, everybody, have a great evening. Come back Wednesday. It's going to be a short week for shows because of the holiday. Happy 4th of July. And Wednesday night over on my X Base, we'll have Silk from the Diamond Silk Show. And then Derek, you'll be back here in 2 weeks, right?
I plan on it. I plan on being here.
All right. Well, all right, sweetie. Well, you drive safe and stay out of that storm. I don't know what's going on and how bad that is, but be safe, my friend.
It's just raining and a little lightning here and there. I'll be all right. I'm like Lieutenant Dan on the top of that ship. I ain't worried about this.
You are traveling wheelbarrow for sure. So you got that shit down pat.
I do.
Thank you, Derek. Be safe travels, and everybody, God bless. Have a great evening. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Derek.
Sounds good. See everybody soon.
Bye.